Okay, so Ryan's muted and his internet's really bad. So we're just gonna start off the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. I guess am your host today, Chris, and Ryan is over there having some technical difficulties. The Stars win tonight. Final score 4-1 against the Wild on TNT. They win a nationally televised game, and boy howdy did Jamie Benn have a game. Ryan, can you hear me now? All right, we're gonna take that as a no. So I guess we're going solo tonight. Um, Starting off in the first period, there was a lot of good chances on Ottinger by the Wild. Wild had good pressure on us, really from the get go. Good by Ottinger holding on there. Stars really come back, and it's really an evenly matched period for the rest of the period. There, I felt like not super high event though, in my opinion. So not a lot going either direction, but a lot of shots from distance. It felt like. Um, and so no goal scored in that period. But then we jump right into the second period, and immediately off the bat, Jamie Benn, who I alluded to earlier as having an outstanding game, starts it off. Benn with his 20th of the season from Johnson, his 10th assist, and also from Lindell. So fantastic goal there. Johnson with an incredible pass, and Jamie Benn. I don't know exactly what the Wild defensemen were doing on that play. But they just kind of let Jamie Benn go right by, and he may not be as fast as he used to be, but man, he's not gonna make a mistake there. And the clean hands right in front of the net, that is classic Jamie Benn, and just slides it right past him. So fantastic goal by that line. That line has been consistent throughout the entire season. I mean, we've seen especially the Sagan Marchment line be kind of up and down throughout the year, but that Ben Johnson combination, especially when Delandre's on that line, has been really consistent overall. I mean, just the entire season, they've consistently put up points, and Jamie Benn has just had an amazing season. Then moving on, the Stars are downhill at this point. This is probably the best second period the Stars have ever played this season, in a season where they've had some real troubles, some real troubles in the middle frame. So real downhill for the entirety right after Ben's goal until Roddick Fox scores the goal from Sagan and Marchment, 5:40 into the period. Ryan tries to join again. Hi, Ryan. Can you hear me? Can you talk?
Yes, I can hear you. I
Okay.
hate doesn't matter where I go. I'm in San Antonio, by the way, everybody. And for some reason, I can't even get good internet when I go on a business trip. So there you go.
So we're already in the second period, Ryan. We already talked about Jamie Benn's goal, but what did you think about that first one from Ben?
Ben's goal was fantastic. He just dangled everybody. He looked like vintage Jamie Benn.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I said. Those hands right in front of the net. That's a Jamie Benn goal if I've ever seen one. So then I just mentioned the Roddick Foxa goal. Roddick Foxa paired with a line today that we've seen before with Sagan and Marchment. He gets a goal himself from a amazing feed by Sagan. He dunks it.
And I honestly thought that the way that they went on that 2-on-1, Sagan completely set up Foxa. And Foxa is starting to show that he can score goals more lately. So
Yeah.
he's starting to get on the score sheet more often as well. And I know a lot of people, including myself, have said that Foxa is not the answer for the second line right now. But with the way that he's playing right now, he's kind of saying he's the answer. He's not going to score as much as maybe some others we would expect to be on that line with him and Marchment, but he's looked good.
As an avid Foxa hater, he's always looked good on that line on the defensive side. He's looked great the entire time. There's no question about that. But tonight especially, it felt like he took a step offensively. Not just because he scored a goal. He could have had another one. That penalty shot was a really good penalty shot. I mean, he can open them just like he wanted to, slid it 5-hole, just lucky that he had the stick between his legs. And he had multiple other chances and multiple other good passes in the offensive zone as well. So he really took a step offensively tonight instead of just being a guy who wins puck battles.
Gustafsson got completely lucky on that penalty shot. It should have been a goal. If that stick had not gotten stuck behind his own pad, it would have been in the net, and it would have been, I guess, what was it, 4-1 at that? It would have been 4-1 at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, fantastic move, Foxa. I thought for sure he was going to score for a second because I was just like, when he scores, it's normally he scores two. It seems like so, and it's very rare. But like when he scores goals, it's normally in bunches and like two at a time. So I mean, he's one of the few guys that's not, Robo, Pavelski, or Robertson that has had a multi-goal game this year. So, one of the few guys that has, other than those three. So, I really thought he was going to score.
Yeah. Fantastic game. Those are the two guys who I thought were the most impactful tonight were Ben and Foxa, and they both scored tonight in the first two goals. So that was fantastic. Following the Roddick Foxa goal, just like Jamie Ben's goal, Stars are still going downhill. I mean, this period, the first 10 minutes were fantastic. I mean, chance after chance. It's a miracle that the first line didn't score another goal here. Until Hakanpää tips one in off of Hintz from the top of the point. And the funny thing about this one is it starts from a rush with our two most defensive defensemen, Esa Lindell and Yanni Hakanpää, barreling down through center ice with some good passes. And Hakanpää, he's in the right spot. I mean, he goes to the net. He makes a great play, deflects the puck in. If he doesn't get a stick on it, it doesn't go in. It was just a great play by Hakanpää.
I couldn't help but write this down in my notes for that on that goal. I wrote here: Hakanpää scores after getting in the way of Hintz's shot.
No, give the man his due.
I'm joking, but like that's how Hakanpää scores his goals, man. It's either an empty netter or it's like a random time he's in front of the net, and it happened to be one of those cases here.
It feels like every time he scores, that when it's not an empty netter, it's really a fantastic play. I mean,
It
that
is,
was
no,
really
yeah.
that was a smart offensive play. He passes it off, drives to the net, gets the deflection in. That was fantastic. I mean, just it's just funny that our two most offensive guys are the ones leading the rush, and it worked fantastically. You love to see that. I mean, they talk about that all the time, needing more offense from our defensemen, and here our most defensive guys are buying in and producing that way. So, really great second period. And I also talked about before you, while you were gone, Ryan, how this was like the best second period that we've had all season long, and we're notoriously bad in second periods.
Well, and I'll counter that a little bit because lately they've looked really good in second periods. I mean, as soon as you said that about the Stars having problems in the second period, my mind keeps going back to that Buffalo game where we were just, I mean, down the ice, tilted. And even in the Anaheim game on Monday, that was our best period out of the three. So the thing that's different about this game compared to the other games is that we actually got rewarded with goals on the score sheet tonight. So I thought that was really big.
Maybe recently, but scoring differential wise, that's our worst period statistic.
Yes, agreed. But recently, the second period has been at least a momentum builder for the Stars. Now, they haven't won a lot of those games, but still.
But a good shift for the team too. Good to see a problem and address it.
One thing I do want to mention though about all three of these goals, and I think this is the perfect time to mention it, is all the top three lines get involved in the offense tonight. And if that's not a recipe for success for this team, I mean, I don't know what is, because we didn't ask the top line to be all dominant tonight. They were very good tonight, but all three lines were able to chip in and got some offense going for the Dallas Stars tonight.
Yeah, and that's something that the post game talked about a lot too. How deep this team really is. I mean, you talked about three great lines, three offensive threats. Even Roddick Fox is showing some offensive ability, and don't sleep on the fourth line either. I mean, with Studenic in tonight, that is a fast line. I mean, with Gurionov and Studenic flanking Glendening, man, you got to be on your toes if you're a defenseman on the other team.
Well, and I mean, give Glendening his due too. He's pretty quick too. For a guy who's a little older, he's got some wheels to him. We've seen it. And now that you mention him, let's just go ahead and talk about him. But what did you think about Studenic's play tonight? Because I thought it was okay at times. What I did love is that even though he was willing to, he got called up at the last second with Kiviranta being out tonight. I think he played pretty well. I thought he played pretty well. There were some moments when it was a little bit of a defensive breakdown, but on the offensive side of the game, I thought he did very well, fantastically.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It felt kind of like he wasn't exactly sure where he needed to be defensively, but offensively, he has the most. I think he has the most shots of any Stars player tonight. 4 shots on goal for Marian Studenic, with only 8 minutes time on ice, which is lowest on the team, obviously. So I think he was put in a really tough spot too. I mean, he probably drove up from Cedar Park today to come play in this game, and I think he did a really good job. I mean, for what he was tasked with doing, and he played his 8 minutes fine. You'd like to see him be a little bit more solid defensively and win a few more puck battles, just because that's kind of the identity of that fourth line with Kivi Ranta on it, is that they don't lose puck battles. It kind of felt like they got away from that tonight without Kivi, but it's fine, especially for the position that he was put in.
And I think that fourth line missed Kiviranta more than I think they thought they were going to, because I mean, Kiviranta, you can't pull him out of the lineup. I know
Yeah.
he doesn't score as much as, maybe we would want him to, but he's a fourth line guy. But the kind of effort that he puts in, it reminds me a lot of Antoine Roussel without the edge, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. Like the energy that he shows every single shift, you know that you're going to get the best out of Kiviranta. So Studenic tried, and I think he did the best that he could given the situation that he was put in today.
Yeah, and we'll see him for a couple more games too. I mean, I don't remember who exactly said it on Twitter, but Kiviranta is going to be out for more than one game, at least they said.
He's banged up pretty badly.
So we're going to see Studenic here for at least a little while. So he's got a good opportunity. I mean, he was pretty much a regular late in the season last year and did a good job and brought some good energy. So we'll see if he can get things going.
Well, two more things, because I know I got a lot. Sorry, Chris. I'm just trying to get these in before my internet messes up. Brandon, screw you, man. What's been worse this season? The Stars in the second period or Ryan's internet connection? Definitely my internet connection. I just can't get a break. Even when I'm in a big city, it doesn't work. I'm literally running off of my hotspot off of my phone right now. So, but second thing, I want to kind of shout out Gustafsson for a second. The guy's been fantastic and very quietly has been the better of the two goaltenders, and a Minnesota team that's kind of fallen off the rails a little bit after doing pretty well, before the All-Star break, and, like late December, early January, they were looking like they were going to be that third team in the Central, and today they drop out. But I want to mention him specifically because he absolutely stoned Johnston. I thought that was a for sure goal, and he had an opportunity to. I mean, Johnson had to do was elevate it a little bit, but Gustafsson made an excellent save on Johnson, and that probably would have been, that would have been 3-0 at that point. But I mean, still great save by him.
And lots of saves through traffic, especially. I mean, he was seeing through everything. That we didn't have one goal that was just from a screen. The only one that we had that was close was the Yanni Hakanpää deflection. He would have even had that one if we didn't get a stick on it. So he did really well handling the pressure we had in front.
So the Miro penalty, let's get to that next, because that's kind of the next thing to talk about.
Next goal,
so yeah, did you think that was an actual penalty? Because Miro looked a little hacked off about it.
I know for a fact Kaprizov is not that weak on his skates. So if you're going to call that a cross check, I mean, call it an embellishment too. That was ridiculous, especially with the penalties that weren't called in Dallas's favor tonight. That being a penalty is just gross. And it's just giving the benefit of the doubt to Kaprizov because he's a flashy player. That's really all it is. And I thought the officiating tonight was really terrible. I mean, the fact that we dominated the first and second periods and had no power plays through any of those doesn't make any sense. There was multiple chances for them to make calls. It is really, I mean, that's just awful.
Especially when the Stars were dominating in the second period, because they were completely dominating in the second period, especially off the rush, which is how they scored a majority of their goals. So, anyway, you kind of mentioned it, but that does lead to the next goal. Eriksson gets the power play goal from Kaprizov. So, I mean, yeah, it was a sucky call, according to Miro. Miro didn't like it. You didn't like it. I thought it was stupid that Minnesota had 2 power plays. We had 0, yet we were the ones dominating the game. And, but at the same time, you can only control what you can control. You can't control the refs. The refs are going to make dumb calls sometimes. They're going to make good calls sometimes. But when you have an opportunity like this on the penalty kill, you have to do it. And especially at that point in the game, this was like late in the second period, and I was actually starting to feel better about the Stars at this point, because 2-0 has kind of been our Achilles heel lately, because then we give up the 2-goal lead, they tie it up the past 4 or 5 games. We got the 3-0, and I'm thinking, okay, good, we got a 3-goal lead going into the second intermission. But that really kind of frightened me and scared me a little bit, especially
I
after
mean,
Kaprizov wasn't involved.
I'm gonna push back on that one pretty hard because the Stars penalty kill was really good tonight. They allowed one shot on goal, and it was the one that went in. And on a power play that is as good as the Wild is, even if it's not been exceptional this year, we know historically this is a really good power play. I mean, they're gonna score one if you give them three. I feel like so maybe not every game, and of course we should stop. We want to stop them on the penalty kill, but it's such a good power play that when they get easy ones like that and a chance to shift momentum in the game, they're gonna do it. I mean, Kaprizov is just that kind of player that can feel big moments in games, and he takes control of them, and he did it tonight. I mean, that pass is just perfect. I
Mhm.
mean, that's what he does. So uh, I like the penalty kill tonight, and I'm not gonna blame it for that goal.
So there was a goal that was called back. I don't know if you saw this comment from Brooke over here, but she was curious about what we thought about the called off goal. So what did you think about on that play there, Chris?
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. I mean, I didn't think it was gonna count as soon as it went in. I mean, the guy just ran over Ottinger from behind, so it seemed pretty obvious. The Wild seemed to agree with not even challenging it and not even thinking about challenging it. Really, they kind of just dropped the puck again. So
Yeah,
seemed pretty cut and dry in my opinion.
I like the way that Brandon put it. It's blatant. It was
Eh,
blatant
Yeah.
goaltender interference. And that makes me think. It's kind of frustrating that we get a goal called back for goaltender interference, but they can't call a penalty when
Mm,
that happens.
I'll
It,
push
it
back
it
on that
seems like,
again.
but I mean, sometimes they do, but then there's a blatant one like this. They call off the goal, but there's no penalty on the play for the Stars.
Well,
They
it's
don't get
not
the power play.
exactly. He's not really getting hit. The difference between the two, between incidental contact and goalie interference, for me, is basically the force. So, like, did the guy just fall, or did he just push him, or did he actually like skate into the guy? So, I think that's a difference in my opinion. I'm fine with it not being a penalty, but it definitely shouldn't be a goal.
Um, so that goes into the second intermission. So it's 3-1. I did not feel comfortable about this lead, Chris. I know you might have felt a little better about it, but still, it's just a 2-goal lead, and I was very worried about it going into the third intermission or the second intermission going into the third period, because I just knew that the Wild were going to be at least a little bit better, and they got some sort of momentum going into the third period. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I was thinking we needed at least one more goal. I'm
Hmm.
glad I was wrong. We didn't need one more. We just dumped in the empty netter. So, but it was a really good defensive game, and I mean, the third period really summed up what we did in the first two periods too. Ottinger was really good, and he saved a lot of perimeter shots. The Wild didn't have a lot of stuff in tight or in the slot, and then we've said this all season long. The Stars are really good at shutting guys down in the slot. You're not going to get many chances in the center, so when you get them, you better score them. And they didn't get very many. They didn't score. They scored even less.
So I guess we'll get into the third period here, but obvious stat: Stars are 20-0-1 when leading going into the third period. That's a significant stat because not many teams have a record like that. We have yet to lose in regulation when that happens. So that's a really big idea. I hope that continues going into the playoffs as well. But the third period overall, Chris, I know normally I wait till after we go through the third period, but what was your thoughts on the third period? Because, I mean, I thought this was the funnest period for multiple different reasons.
I thought Jamie Benn just took control of the game. I mean, even more so than in the second period when he scored the goal. He was fantastic all over the ice. He made his presence known every time he was on the ice. You knew exactly where he was, and he was causing havoc and just. I mean, he was a whirlwind, just going through the ice and riling up everybody on the team, and just that shut it down. Honestly, is what it did. I mean, that kind of play from Jamie Benn, it closes down the game. And that's what we talk about, especially vintage Jamie Benn, how he takes control of hockey games. He's a guy kind of like what we say about Miro Heiskanen now. And that's what he did in the third period. It was Jamie Benn's period. It was Jamie Benn's game. I sent a tweet. I was like, it's Jamie's world. We're all just living in it. And that's what it felt like in the
Mhm.
third period. He just did whatever he wanted, and he controlled it.
Well, and the other thing about how well Jamie Benn is playing right now is that he's playing a lesser role. He's not playing as much, and yet he's still being effective. Maybe not to the same extent that he was when he was in his heyday, but like you get games like today where he scores a beautiful goal just out of nowhere, absolute gorgeous goal. And then in the third period, I mean, it got chippy. That was the word I used to describe the third period. And that's how he plays his game. I mean, I after he drew the call on Hartman and Hartman went to the box for tripping, I mean, I think Jamie Benn sold it a little bit, to be honest with you. But the thing was, I sent in the group chat, I wrote, I love Jamie Benn. I just started laughing because, I mean, he messes with multiple different Wild players. He scores a goal. He's sticking up for other players. And then he goes and he doesn't take a penalty and he draws a call. I mean, you can't get much better if you're Jamie Benn.
Yeah. And anytime you can show up Ryan Reeves, that's amazing. I mean, I love that. Hate that guy.
Yeah.
And not fighting him especially. I mean, there's no need to fight a guy who has 0 goals in 42 games. He has 6 assists on the entire season. The dude is washed. He is trash. Get him out of the NHL. He is garbage.
Yeah, and that is not a trade-off I would be willing to take in a fighting major, for
And
example.
Ben knew that too. He knew he had to stay in the game, and Ryan Reeves didn't. So
Right, exactly. Now,
there's your veteran prowess right there.
So decent segue into the next thing. I thought the penalty that Marchment took was very stupid. That was a easy call to make. And I know some people were up. Okay, I know you don't agree with me with that face, but you have to look at what happened in the second period. That stupid little slash that he took or whatever it was, and then he goes and takes a run at the guy who did the slash, and then he basically he had his glove all over his helmet and all over his head. That's an easy call for the ref to make. Even if you thought it wasn't a penalty, that's not something that you do right off the bat in the third period, especially when you just let the other team score a goal and you've only got a 2-goal lead.
That was not taking a run, and Dumbo held him from getting to the puck was the whole reason why that started in the first place. So I thought Dumba got away with a mad amount of stuff tonight. I mean, he could have had 3 penalties. I felt in this game.
But you know that they're
Sure,
going to get the retaliation. They're always going to
yes,
get the
I
retaliation, and
understand,
Marchment fed into that, and I think
and
Dumba partially knew that.
I
So
agree
that's
to a
why I
point.
wrote that he was a stupid play by Marchment there.
I agree to a point. I thought it was really soft for that to be a roughing penalty, and the officiating was terrible. The only reason he has to take that is because he's not getting any calls on Dumba. I mean, Dumba should have been in the box tonight, and it's a miracle he wasn't. So I agree to a point, but I also feel like the refs take some blame on that.
So Sagan was really noticeable in the third period as well. I don't know if his penalty kill work was excellent during that Marchment penalty kill. And he even had a chance where he was wide open, but Gustafsson made a really good play and didn't allow the pass to get across. I thought that was a for sure goal when I saw how wide open Sagan was on the opposite side, and he just couldn't get the pass to him. And then there was some kerfuffle in front of Otter, and of course Jamie Benn is completely involved in it. He got away with a cross check. He cross checked Middleton in the back, but Middleton was messing with Suter a little bit too. So I understood why that cross check kind of came in from Jamie Benn. Uh, uh, what does Marchment need to do to not get penalties like Jamie Benn doesn't? Like Jamie Benn got away with murder in the third period. Some of the things that he could have been called for, and he didn't get called for. Like they could have called him for a couple of things, and yet they didn't.
Well, Jamie Benn just matches whatever the other guy's doing. I mean, Ryan Hartman dragged him to the boards. Okay, I'm going to hold him down on the ice. I mean, I can do the exact
That
same
was
thing.
hilarious. I
Ryan
love that.
Reeves gets in his face. All right, I'm going to get in Ryan Reeves' face. I mean, he's just mirroring whatever the other guy's doing, and he's just taking it up one little notch. So how are you going to call it just on Jamie Benn? If you're going to call it, you're going to call it on both of them. So, and there also there's obviously that he has some pedigree in the NHL. He's been the captain of the Stars for forever, and this is how he plays hockey, and he's not about to change. So I don't think the officials are going to start trying to change what Jamie Benn is and how he plays hockey.
Well, and you mentioned Jamie Benn and Ryan Reeves earlier. Well, when they were basically in each other's face and yelling at each other, Jamie Benn sitting there smiling, and they obviously don't fight because Jamie Benn's not going to do that because it's not worth him in the box and for Reeves in return. And Marchment started yelling from the bench at Ryan Reeves, which I really liked. I mean, it's like if Marchment's not going to get involved in the offense as much, which he did tonight, he got an assist. But if he's not going to be as involved in the offense, that's kind of the thing that we also paid him for. A little
And,
bit of that nastiness, a little bit of that chippiness that Jamie Benn has. And so it was good to see that from Marchment yelling at Reeves from the bench.
and I was thinking when it happened, like something like that might get him going. I mean, he's been in a rut. I mean, he hasn't scored a goal against a goalie since early December.
That's
So,
crazy.
I mean, get him barking, get him upset, pissed off. I mean, even after the game, they showed an image of the Stars bench. Marchment still looked pissed off. I mean, he looked unhappy. So maybe he needs a little bit of unhappiness. Maybe he needs a little bit more hunger. So maybe that'll get him going.
Pete DeBoer just needs to steal his lunch money like every single day, and just make him mad every single day. So, uh, I did want to mention Ryan Miller tonight, not Ryan Miller, Colin Miller. I don't know why I said Ryan Miller. Sorry, not the goaltender, but Colin Miller. He had a really big block that looked like it stung him, and I love to see that kind of effort from those guys that don't get a lot of recognition for what they do. You know, like Essa Lindell. So I think that was worthy to kind of point out. The Dallas power play in the third period. What did you think of it?
Hmm. It was good. It's kind of a lot of the stuff we were talking about last game. How we're getting the
Mhm.
shots from the side, but they're not really that great. Um,
More
and
rebounds. That's what we need.
I'm starting to agree with you more that we need to get more people in front of the net, trying for that deflection harder than before. We also just, I mean, practice one timers, guys. We practice the tipping a lot, and that seemed to work. So let's practice some one timers and see how that goes.
um, Foxa had a breakaway, and he was pulled down, and he was awarded a penalty shot, and we are kind of already talked about that, but we didn't really talk about the move that Foxa made. That it was a really good move. He did well
It
on it.
was. Yeah, and he got a shot away and then still went down kind of easily. So good play by him to get the call and get a shot away. He basically gets two chances for the price of one.
And we got to talk about it, but Minnesota pulled the goaltender from the net with like 4.5 minutes left, and then Pavelski. Just images of Patrick Steffen. Just
And then they almost
oh
scored going the
goodness,
other direction.
yes. And I'm like, oh no, please don't do that. And then Hintz was just trying to be nice and passed it to him,
Yeah,
but it kind of handcuffed Pavelski a little
it
bit.
did kind
So
of.
then
Well,
Hintz the second time was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it myself and skated
and it
it
was the chippy
all the
ice
way to
too.
the net.
It just hopped over his stick. I mean,
Yep.
there's just unlucky. I mean, there's nothing you can do. That's exactly what happened with the Stefan no goal too. I mean, he's just dangling the puck slow and it just goes bloop, right over his blade. I mean, what are you gonna do about that?
Yeah, I know.
But even if the Wild somehow scored 3 goals and came back, we would have won it in overtime, so it'd be okay.
Knock
That's
on
what we
wood
did on
on
the
that like
Stefan
a
goal.
million times. Goodness gracious. I know that we ended up winning that game, but everybody knows Patrick Steffen for that play. Not the fact that he was a number 1 overall pick and never really panned out to be what everyone thought he was going to, but he gets known for that play. Like everybody knows Patrick Steffen for that play. And I
Uh,
was just I had flashes in my head when Pavelski missed that. I'm like, "Oh, please
yeah.
no."
Yeah, that's the first thing that
Anyways,
came to mind for me too.
we're getting to the end of our AGR, but we got a lot. We got 2 other things we need to talk about, but well, actually 3, probably 3 things actually. But what'd you think of the game overall? Any other thoughts from the game tonight?
I mean, we just dominated. I mean, we were just better than the Wild. Every facet of the game, goaltending, defense, offense, even our special teams, I thought was better. We had better chances. The Wild just buried their one. So I thought we just played a fantastic game against a good team. I mean, the Wild are no slouches, but they got bullied tonight by Jamie Benn.
Sort of kind of side tangent. Ottinger played really well tonight. We haven't even mentioned his name tonight, and
39
especially early
saves.
on in the first period, like when the start. I don't want to say they started flat, but they were a little slow. They weren't fully flat, but he made a lot of good saves early on, and within like the first 5 minutes of the first period, it kind of let the rest of his team kind of catch up to him, and at least mentally. So
For sure.
shout out to him, and he continues to play well. I mean, he only let in 1 goal tonight, and I mean, Geez, the guy he's the second best goaltender in the NHL according to Darren Pang of the NHL Network. I don't know if you saw that, but
He's objectively the second best goaltender. He's second best in every single statistic. I mean, how are you gonna argue that?
right. So, all right. Anything else?
I'm good on the game. Jamie Benn, big winner.
All right. Well, let's talk real quick about Bo Horvat here because we haven't really got a chance to talk about him. And since we last talked about him, he was still a member of the Vancouver Canucks. He's no longer a member of the Vancouver Canucks. And he is also now in New York, where he got traded to. Not the Rangers, but the Islanders, which was very interesting because the Islanders aren't even in a playoff spot right now. And on top of that, he signed an 8-year extension for about $8.5 million per season. So he gets the contract that he wanted. He got the term that he wanted. And it's just interesting to see Lou Lamoriello, who's the GM of the New York Islanders, kind of go out and make a really big trade like that. Because they gave up Anthony Beauvillier, who's like a 20 goal scorer. You can kind of pencil him in for like 15 to 20 each year. So he's not bad. They got Atu Ratu, who is probably their best prospect that they had in New York at that point. And then they also got a conditional first round pick as well. So I think it's like top 12 protected or something like that. So, but either way, it was interesting to see that that's where Bo Horvat ended up because that was not a team that was on my radar. I was thinking, Boston, us a little bit. I didn't see a ton of things about us, but mostly I saw a lot of Boston. I saw a lot of Rangers, and so I mean, what did you think of that whole situation with Bo Horvat?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Islanders gave up so much when they're what it feels like is they're kind of on the downslide from their peak in the franchise when they were winning the division and getting the conference finals for what was it, 3 years in a row?
Two
Kind of been
years.
on the 2 years in a row. Well, they've been on the downswing since then. I thought they would take a little time and regroup a little, but no, they're a bubble team that's pushing to stay in. So I thought that was kind of interesting, especially for like the Stars market. We talked about how it's kind of important for the Stars to stay in the playoffs just for monetary reasons purely. Islanders don't really need that. I mean, they're in New York, the biggest sports market in the world. So it's kind of interesting to see them pull such a risky move just to try and sneak into a wild card spot.
They are a baby brother to the Rangers, though.
They
And
are.
so what this also signifies especially for the guys in the Islanders locker room is that Lou Lamoriello thinks that this team can still do it, regardless of how they're doing right now. I think
Yeah.
at this point they've won 4 in a row. So they're on a recent good streak. But over the course of this season, it's just been kind of hard for them. Now, they won it 2 years in a row. Or won it 2 years in a row. They got to the conference finals 2 years in a row. And then the year after, they just had a sucky schedule. Then they got screwed over. I mean, we thought
Yeah.
we had a bad schedule. It was worse for the Islanders.
And that was
Uh,
with the new building and everything too.
right,
So kind of
exactly,
out of their
right. So,
hands.
yeah, so the UBS Arena was not ready for the season to start, and so they started the season on the road and like a crazy uh, road schedule to begin the season. And then after that, they got shut down actually, no, they didn't get shut down for COVID when they probably should have been shut down for COVID. So just like we got shut down in like before our season even started, the shortened COVID season, the Stars got shut down and our season started later. Well, the Islanders were not given that opportunity, and they were not given that blessing from the NHL. So I kind of gave them a little bit of a pass, and I was really high on them this year. But I don't know what the difference is about this year. I think it's just they need to score more. And I mean, they got rid of Barry Trotz, which was kind of surprising that they fired him. And but the thing is that Lou Lamoriello doubled down. He went out and got one of the biggest names on the market. And what did they complain about the Islanders? Like every media personality in the NHL, they just don't score goals. They have Ilya Sorokin, who is arguably one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. Is definitely top 5. they just need to score more goals. And who better than Bo Horvat, who is having a fantastic season in the goal scoring department. So it I think it's going to be a good fit for Bo Horvat, and I mean, I guess it has to be now because he's at least there for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to me. I didn't realize. They obviously think they have good enough prospects and good enough depth guys to build off of Bo Horvat and turn that into their next big guy. I just think it's come at an interesting time when I feel like they should be kind of regrouping, and then it feels kind of like an all in play for some reason. So
Well,
kind of weird.
they're kind of like the Penguins and the Capitals in that they're a very, very old team.
Yeah,
Like, we think we
that's fair.
have some old players with, Suter and Pavelski, but Pavelski is kind of the exception to the old person, you know, equation because he's almost a point per game player again this season. But, like, they have a bunch of forwards that are, like, 30 plus. Like, they don't have barely any young guys. They have Noah Dobson on the blue line, who's pretty young. And I think they've got Romanov, who they got from Montreal as a young guy. But everybody else is either a veteran or 30 plus. So this is a very old team. So I understand why he might have doubled down. The other thing I wanted to mention about Bo Horvat too, it was kind of sad because he spent his entire career in Vancouver, right? So just like we revere Jamie Benn, and he just played his 1,000th game, we revere Jamie Benn just like they revered Bo Horvat out there in Vancouver. And as soon as he got traded, one of the first media interviews that he did, he mentioned that he thought he was going to be a Canuck for life. And I can't imagine, Jamie Benn getting traded, more at his heyday, kind of like Bo Horvat is, and him turning around and saying, I really thought I was going to be a Dallas Star for my whole career. I
Yeah,
mean, can you imagine it's like a dagger being twisted just a little bit in you. And not only that, your captain got traded away, but your team sucks. No
yeah,
offense to the Vancouver Canucks, but your team sucks. And the the situation of I mean, we've talked about it on a Stars podcast about how bad the situation is in Vancouver right now. It was just not managed well. The coach was terrible. Bruce Boudreau came in and did his best. It's such a mess in Vancouver, and that made me really, really sad to see the answer that he gave, and
yeah,
tell everybody in the world what he thought he was going to be, a Vancouver
yeah.
Canuck for life.
Kind of shows you the personal side between hockey and business. And unfortunately, when you run your hockey team slash business as bad as the Canucks have done, you're gonna get some disappointments like we've seen the past 2 weeks. So I mean, there's no one to blame except for Canucks management because they've done a terrible job the past 10 years.
And what this makes me do is just appreciate even more what Jim Nill has done for this franchise.
And
And
what
I
Tom
know,
Gallardi has done. I
yeah,
mean,
and
that
what
guy
Tom
came in and brought
Gallardi
a
has
lot of
done.
stability to the
Mhm.
team.
But Tom Gallardi kind of supports the team obviously monetarily, but Jim Nill is the brain trust, and Tom Gallardi is not like Jerry Jones. He lets Jim Nill do his job, and
We've
Jim Nill
also
has
seen
done
some stuff
excellent for
that
this team.
he's in a lot more talks than we see from the outside. But yes, for the most part, he, he's mostly hands off.
Which I do appreciate, by the way.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, you could learn a little bit from Tom Gallardi. So just saying, Jerry Jones, please leave the Cowboys alone. Okay. Um, anything else there?
Nope.
No,
Canucks
I thought the
management
whole
sucks.
I thought the whole Bo Horvat thing was really interesting to get into because there's so many different storylines you could go down with that whole thing. Okay, we need to get into this next topic because this next topic is kind of serious, and it's really bad for a multitudinous of reasons. Not even multitudinous of
Wow.
reasons. And we need to talk about Bally Sports and the organization that runs them, the Diamond Sports LLC, and then the company that owns them, Sinclair Broadcasting Company. So there's going to be a lot of background info for those of you that are listening that might not know what I'm talking about here. So with Bally Sports Southwest, it's come out recently that they will be filing for bankruptcy. It's almost a guaranteed thing that over the next course of the next I don't know, 3 or 4 months, they're gonna be filing for, bankruptcy. And the reason why this is so bad is that, we don't even like Bally Sports to begin with, let's just be honest, and it's not Razor, it's not Bogorod,
Well,
it's none of the people that work at the local level for Bally Sports.
well, they don't work for Bally Sports, actually. They're hired by the team. Bally Sports just produces it.
I guess that's true.
They
But
are on the Dallas Stars company books.
so, let's go way back, okay? Because I've done a lot of research on this. So, when before Bally Sports rebranded to Bally Sports, they were Fox Sports Southwest, and there was all these regional networks all across the country, right?
Mhm.
Well, they were owned by 21st Century Fox. So when Disney went in and bought 21st Century Fox, mostly for the X-Men products, part of the deal was they weren't allowed to own the regional networks. Because Disney already owns ESPN, the US Justice Department said, "Hey, y'all can't have a monopoly on all these sporting events. If you're going to buy 21st Century Fox, we'll allow it, but you have to sell the regional networks." So they sold them off and they sold them to Sinclair. Sinclair got them and they sold the naming rights to Bally, which is a sports betting company, and then they became Bally Sports Southwest, and that's how all of that happened. So really, it's all Disney's fault. Screw you, Disney. I'm just kidding. But uh, they went in and they made all of these contracts with numerous different teams. This doesn't just affect the NHL. There's 12 NHL teams that are affected by this, but there's also MLB teams that are affected by this, including the Rangers, and there's also NBA teams that are affected by this, including the Mavs. So the money that Bally Sports is paying these teams, they're not making enough money in to give that money to the teams. So if they file for bankruptcy, all of these teams are going to be losing a lot of money on these contracts that Bally has signed with all these major teams. So it there was talks about, maybe the conglomeration of those three big, sports leagues getting together and like basically bailing out the the Bally Sports Group and saying, you know what, okay, screw you guys, we're gonna take the naming rights and we're just gonna run it ourselves. The networks. And now it would take too long to describe it, but what a lot have viewed this as, and this is probably the one good thing that can come out of this, is that it could mean an end to local blackouts. Could. So if it goes down this path and they do file for bankruptcy, which they probably most likely will, there is an option that going forward in the future, and it's likely that that this could be the end of blackouts, local blackouts. So, a local fan could actually be able to go in and watch a game and be able to watch it without having to have like 4 or 5 different streaming services in order to watch all of these games. And it's just been so poorly run by Bally Sports that
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to do business with them because they think their product is worth this much amount of money, and
Yeah.
they're
I
not
was about
getting
to
it.
say, you
Everybody has dropped them.
didn't even mention that part. The only traditional like cable network, it's not really cable anymore, but you know what I'm saying, that
Mhm.
still carries Bally is Spectrum. That is it. And Spectrum is not cheap. I'll tell you that much. Um, other than that, there's not really a way to watch it unless you pay the $20 a month for their Bally Sports app, which I do pay. And the
'Cause we have
product
to watch
is
the games.
yeah, and the product is worse than it used to be. I mean, when it was Fox Sports Southwest, the product was better. I mean, the switching between cameras was a lot better. The graphics were a lot better, and the Bally Sports, the production of it is just not as good. So, I it seems like just the Sinclair group is just moronic, and whatever their business strategy was, I guess I mean trying to hold the fans hostage is what they were doing. They were trying to force the fans into being mad at their teams. I mean, you remember the ad campaign that they ran? They were saying, "Oh, look what Dish and DirecTV have done. They've dropped us. Call them and tell them how upset you are." I mean, that's disgusting. I mean, they were trying to weaponize sports fans to make more money. It's really gross.
It's
So
really
if
frustrating that they did that.
there's only one carrier that still carries your channel, it's probably not DirecTV or Dish's fault that it's not carried anymore. So yeah, Brooke makes a good point too. The app that they sell for $20 is terrible. It sucks. I mean, I can't watch it on Google Chrome anymore. I have to watch it on the Edge browser because it doesn't work on Google Chrome for me. And I called in tech support. They were like, "Well, just watch it on the Edge." Thank you so much, Bally Sports. Truly unbelievable. And if you're outside of your zip code for too long, which I'm a college student, so I'm moving around a lot, they'll block it. So it's truly unbelievable. $20. That's more than the Disney bundle, which is Disney, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. More than all of those combined. And it's all they have is all I watch on is my hockey team 82 times a year. And I have to pay that much for it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's well, and even then with the $20 a month thing, they're still not making a profit. I think I read somewhere that they have about $660 million in hand, and they owe like multiple billions of dollars to all these professional teams.
Well, what all that says is I don't feel bad for them one bit. I hope they go out of business. And I hope they lose a lot of money.
I agree with you. Because, and I mean, with it being an end to blackouts, that gets me excited a little bit at the
Yeah.
possibility that that could happen.
The prospect
But
of that is nice, but the best thing never happens. I mean, the best thing that could happen is they just say, "All right, we're taking all of our teams. We're not selling. We're making NHL Plus. Buy NHL Plus. Watch all the teams you want, or pay for NHL Lite and watch just your hockey team for a little bit less money." I mean, that's the perfect world, in my opinion. You pay for what you want, and the only thing you're missing out is getting local, is finding new fans. They're just scrolling through. You know how you do that? Throw one up on YouTube. I mean, once a week we have a free YouTube game that people can watch. That's going to get more people than ESPN does, who has dropped viewership by 22%. I mean, it really feels like it shouldn't be that hard. I feel like they can make a lot more money doing this on their own, but they're kind of taking whoever's promising them the most money. So
all right, and this kind of leads into the last thing I want to talk about. We got to talk about this kind of quick because I'm afraid my internet's going to go out pretty quick here. But if I sent this to you, Chris, and I wanted you to watch it, and I think you did. And it was very long, but it was a very interesting topic, and you could see the passion that he had. And what I'm talking about, again, the hockey guy, he's so great to get to watch content, listen to content, whatever when it comes to
good for
hockey.
league-wide information.
Yes, and he's very good at it. And he had a YouTube video today, which was about 28 minutes, which for a regular video of his, that's pretty long. And that's not like one of his recap videos. It's a long video. But he went into this really long discussion about the NHL and specifically about them chasing money. And his argument was that, yeah, they're probably getting more money now than they probably would have if they hadn't done all these things like these extra board ads and, the jersey ads, the helmet ads, yada, 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 yada. But his argument is that over the long term, the owners are kind of screwing themselves over because right now there's a lot of NHL fans that are not as happy. And if you want to keep money pouring into your league and you want to grow the game, and that's how you make fans happy. You give the fans what they want. The fans don't want the board ads. When he was talked to about the board ads, when he being Gary Bettman, his response to the board ads was, well, if you're looking at the board ads, then you're watching the wrong thing. That's the whole point of what ads are for. Why do you see billboards on the side of the road when you're driving? It's supposed to distract you. The idea is for you to look at it so it's in your head. Okay? His argument is that they're actually losing money over the long term because they're doing these things and because they're hurting the product And there's even this argument about, is MLS going to take over as the fourth most popular, sport in North America, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, football's king, then NBA after that, MLB is after that, and then arguably for a while, a lot of people say that it's the NHL. And now, because of part of his argument was, maybe the MLS is getting up there and the NHL is losing fans. They're not very happy about some of the product things on the ice. And part of the reason why this came up was, yes, because of the boards, but also All-Star Weekend. Like, if you look at NBA broadcasts, they're talking about how excited they are about some of the NHL All-Stars and the NBA All-Stars. And like the NBA players are actually excited to go to the All-Star game. NHL players, they don't give a flying crap about the All-Star festivities. I mean, Kaprizov didn't even play in the Super Skills competition. I mean, nobody tries at the All-Star game, which, I mean, yeah, you don't expect them to go all out because you don't want them to get hurt for a exhibition game. But still, they gotta find something to make fans get more excited.
Yeah.
And
The,
it's just this whole encompassing thing. And if you haven't watched that 28-minute video and you're really into hockey, it is a brilliant video to go and watch.
yeah.
It opens your eyes.
There's
Sorry, long
kind of a
long
lot of
rant.
stuff to unpack there. So the All-Star game, and especially the skills competition, I think the big problem with it is that the competitions that they do are just ridiculous and stupid now. I mean, they're doing skills competitions where it's half golf, half hockey, and then they're trying to knock down surfboards on a dock somewhere. Like, the reason that the NBA skills competition is so good, it's because they pick out skills that these guys are proud of. I mean, Steph Curry, he wants to win the three-point shooter contest because he's proud of that. He's proud of being the best three-point shooter in the league. The dunk contest, Blake Griffin wants to be the winner at the dunk contest because that's what he's known for. He's the dunker. So let's stop doing these stupid little games that they do and pit him up against skill on skill. I mean, shoot targets, do the hardest shot, do a breakaway tournament.
Well,
I mean,
but
do things
here's the other thing.
the hockey players actually care about.
Like Connor McDavid didn't want to do the fastest skater,
Mhm.
yet he is obviously one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. He did not want to do that event because that's what he does every single freaking year. And he's got a great shot. It's like, but
Yeah.
the thing is they only let these guys do one event. Why not let them do as many events as they want? Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yeah.
Just okay, we're doing the fastest skater. Okay, who wants to go? Okay, cool,
Yeah.
Connor, go. And then they just make all these stupid rules about it. Like, why not
Yeah.
let the best player in the NHL do multiple different events? I,
Yeah.
I mean, right?
How
Does
about we don't
that
play
kind of make
hockey
sense?
skee-ball on the ice? Or let's not shoot pucks from the concourse onto the ice. I mean, it's just they're just dumb things. I mean, just do hockey skills and showcase your best players doing the best things, not weird games. But then back to kind of their business mindset. They're talking about how they were money first and not really thinking about the long-term growth of the game. I think that's not to go all business minery on you. But I think that's just more of a it's just a business mistake. I mean, they think that the time to capitalize on their investment the most is right now, when in fact they're missing out on a lot more growth that they could have potentially. Um, and it's just plain short-sightedness, not seeing that their product has a lot longer life than they think it does. Um,
Something I forgot to mention real quick because it popped in my head when you mentioned this. One of the examples that Shannon gives is when the NHL was still on ESPN. They were on ESPN for almost 30 years from 1985 to like 2004. Well, before they went into the lockout, they had their TV contract end with ESPN, and ESPN said, "Hey, we'll give you this amount of money, and this is what we'll give you." And Versus came along and said, "You know what? We'll give you twice that amount." And ESPN said, "Well, sorry guys, but your ratings are not worth that. We can't match that." And then so they went after the money, and I mean nobody had Versus. Nobody had Versus and could watch nationally broadcast games because it was a stupid channel. It was a useless, pointless, stupid channel. Nobody had it. So they were just chasing after the money. And like, can you imagine if the NHL had stayed on ESPN from 1985? I mean, they were like on the Outdoor Network channel after they came back from their lockout.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
dumb things.
you also need to look on the flip side of that. Maybe their cap hit doesn't grow as much, and maybe their players don't get paid as much. Maybe their owners don't get paid as much. Maybe we don't have expansion teams at this point. I mean, there's a lot of ifs you can go about. I mean, uh, double the TV contract, that's a lot of money for the whole league to do a lot of good with. So you can't just say that, oh, for sure, if they had stayed, they would have been 100% better off. We don't know that for sure.
But that's what you do. Like you get your product in front of more eyes. That's what you do, and that's why they went back to back to ESPN. Yeah, they got a bigger contract out of it, but they also understood that ESPN is the best broadcasting company for sports in the world. In the world. And they understood that, and it really hurt the product when they were with NBC Sports. And as good as NBC Sports did for some things,
Mm,
they're not ESPN. They're not.
well,
And ESPN has their problems, but they're in their infancy in redoing NHL games. I
it,
think it's going to be a lot better product. You grow the game, you're going to get more money. More people
well,
are going to see your product on the ice, and they're going to be like, "That looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to go buy a ticket and see it live."
that's just too speculative. It's too speculative for me. I mean, if the money's that much better, like to a point where you can do a lot of good things with it, there's a point where you gotta take it. I agree to a point you need to keep eyes on it, but you also can't let the TV contract that you're with hold you hostage and say like, oh, you're only gonna get eyes on it if you stay with us, and we're not gonna pay you enough money. So it, I'm not gonna say it would have been a slam dunk if they stayed on ESPN because I don't know if it would. I mean, we're never gonna know that. But I do agree that right now it's too hard to watch hockey. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We have 4 different streaming services right now just to watch Stars games, and that's
Mhm.
stupid. That shouldn't
Yep.
be a thing. It's too hard for normal people to watch hockey. So if I was the master of the universe, I would say just NHL, take all your games back, do it yourself, reap all the benefits, and yeah, you got more risk, but you've got more reward too. I mean, have faith in your product and put more stuff on like YouTube. Get young eyes on it. That's what's going to keep your game alive, not ESPN, which is dying in my opinion. So,
I think if they switch to streaming more, I think it will help them. I
well, they
really think
have,
that streaming is, and I know they have with ESPN Plus and stuff like
yeah,
that, but that's the way of the future right now. It's all about the internet. So they just got to be the next, I don't know, the next company to take the next step that's innovative.
and that's what I
And
think the next step is taking your games back. And I'm surprised that no league has really done that yet. I mean, I
so
feel like that's the way to go.
and
Control your whole product.
to kind of sum everything up and conclude it, Shannon's argument was you got to have a balance. Right? Yes, you want to get as much money as you can out of the contract, but you also got to understand that the main goal is to, support the people who support your product and make them happy, right?
Mhm.
I think that's like the biggest thing that the
It's
NHL needs to do right
it's
now.
it's still a business. Your main goal is to make money, but I don't think that just taking the biggest contract every time is the way to make the most money. So I I think it's just a bad business decision in my opinion.
They just need to look long term, not
There
just
you
short
go.
term. And they
That-
and they used COVID as an excuse. So,
Which it
okay,
might have been
well,
a good one. I mean, we don't know. They might have been
I don't
swamped
know.
if they didn't do it.
I just he made a very good argument as to why he thinks that they did not make the right decision. But I guess we'll have to wait and see over the course of the next 5 years. Sorry, my brain. I'm tired. Sorry. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Chris, you got anything else?
I'm good. Oh, Nathan, this is a Corsair HS70. Not great battery life, but other than that, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yep.
Steel
So.
Series. Not that rich.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for staying up with us late tonight. I know it's 11:40, but we appreciate you guys listening. Once again, this has been Starcastic Remarks with Chris, My name is Ryan. Please go and check out our website at starcaststicker.com. Check out our merch as well at starcaststickermarkshop.com. And we will be back with you guys again on Saturday when the Dallas Stars are back in game action. So they get 3 days off or 2 days off here, Chris. So it's going to be good for them. They get a little bit more breaks throughout the rest of the season. And it's really nice because they didn't really get that much pre All-Star break.
Sure.
So anyways, Chris, you want to take us out?
Matinee on Saturday. GG, boys.
We'll catch you guys on the flip side. We will see you guys later. Hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you guys are listening. And hopefully my internet will be better next time. See you guys later.